So we're looking in lesson 16 in code.org. We're on activity 8 looking at collision detection and the interaction between sprites. So the reason I highlighted this one is students oftentimes have a little bit of trouble with this debug aspect of the sprite. It's a property that you can turn on and off. And really the whole purpose of the debug is to be able to help you see the kind of hit area of the sprite. So when we say is touching, it's going to be looking not just at the outline of the sprite, but of the hit area that's been drawn around the sprite. So let's go ahead and dive right into this, and hopefully you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about as we go through this particular lesson. So it reads, debugging collisions. The balloon is popping before the tack touches it. When sprites aren't doing exactly what you expect, you can use the debug block to get more information about why the sprites are behaving this way. Can you find out what's wrong in the code below? So, what they want you to do is run the code, use the arrow keys to move the tack to pop the balloon. And then in the code below, change the balloon.debug equals false to balloon.debug equals true. Add a new debug block to the code and set the tack sprite debug property to true. Run the code again and then discuss with your partner why the balloon is popping early. So let's go ahead and just look at this. So obviously for this lesson, you're not fixing the problem, you're just figuring out what the problem is. And that's kind of what the debug is used for. So if we run the code on here, and we move the thumbtack, as it says, see how early it's popping that balloon. Once I'm about right there, see how far away the tack is from the balloon before, or when it pops. And so obviously, the tack's not even touching the balloon. This is kind of unrealistic. In the fact that it's popping so early. So then what it says is we need to change here in our code where it says the debug. See, it says balloon.debug. You're going to change that to be true instead of false. So once we do that, what it does is it shows this kind of frame around the balloon. When we set the debug equal to true. And so then we also, it says change the balloon.debug to false, from false to true, add a new debug block to the code, and set the tack sprite debug property to true. So this, of course, is found in the sprites section of your toolbox, this sprite.debug. And so to add that, we just kind of drag it over here. Just like we did with the balloon one, this is something that we should set up outside the draw loop. We don't necessarily need it repeating, turning on the debug every time it goes through the draw loop. We just set it once, and it's good to go for the rest of the program. So make sure that you set this to tack instead of leaving it as sprite. And then, as it said, we're going to set it equal to true. And so then when we run this, we can see the difference. So hopefully as you're watching this or trying it on your own, you're seeing how the tack has its hit area is really, really close to the outline of where the tack is. Whereas the balloon, the hit area is really far away. And so what's happening is as soon as this hit area is touching the balloon, it is popping. Okay, and so you see the pop is really close to where the actual sprite is. And so what we need to do is fix how big that hit area is. So they've asked, can you use the animations tab to resize the balloon picture so that it pops at the correct time? So if you look at your animation, you can see how big the drawing of the balloon is, but the balloon is only right here. So if you wanted to make that hit area smaller, then you would reduce the size of the canvas here so that it's a lot closer to the balloon. So if you can do that for the challenge, then go ahead and get that done to be able to complete this level. But really the only thing you needed to do is what I just showed you how to do, which was to set the debug on balloon and on tack equal to true, so you can kind of see those outline areas of where the it's touching is going to register, and they're going to interact in that way. And so once you get that completed, you can then complete that level and move on to the next one.